Marisa swore as a young child that she would never have 4 kids.
My name is Ellie and I'm 5.
Everything I say I'm never going to do, the Lord has me do. If I don't have him, I have nothing. We were set up by our parents.
The Lord was messing with me. Am I going to the ministry? Am I going into engineering?
I always knew that I wanted to work in healthcare.
Showing up at the sonogram with no heartbeat.
We miscarried was a big surprise. What does this mean for our family?
My name is Ellie and I'm 5.
She's
Crazy.
loud.
Crazy and loud.
She gives us gray hair. She's
Very,
great. She cut her hair last week.
very opinionated. She's our little mischief one.
She's scribbled on the cat's face with a Sharpie before.
That's right. Ellie is our gift from the Lord who keeps on giving in various God-sanctifying ways on our parenting and patience and things.
My name is Michael and I'm 7 years old. I want to be one of those people who play video games for money.
He's just all boy. He's got a family full of sisters, and so he's just sweet and kind, and
He'll be a great husband.
he's going to be a great husband one day.
He's
and
awesome.
Loves his game time, his screen time that he gets, and then just a boy at times wants to just run around on the bike, play outside, play sword fights and soccer and all the things that they do with their neighborhood friends.
My name's Annie and I'm 10.
Her room cannot stay clean for a minute.
Very
Yeah.
true.
She is our creative type, super friendly, cares for her friends, fun-spirited person.
She's also got a little bit of a bent towards athletics, basketball, soccer, and then also is the only one that asked me about engineering stuff.
My name is Lucy and I'm 12.
Bossy.
What did you expect?
Yeah, so Lucy is very responsible, very high justice chip. The world must be fair.
She's super smart,
Super smart,
gifted in what she does. She's
picks
very
up
thoughtful.
picks up in musical instruments really well, piano, oboe.
We do some video games.
Yep.
As family.
Swings, bikes, basketball, throwing
Wheels
footballs.
outside. Lots of balls in the air. Trying to get all the kids to all the activities. Between our work, just trying to manage everything. We're busy. Very busy. We're both from large families. I'm the oldest of 4.
And I have 2 biological siblings and then 2 adopted little brothers.
My dad's from Mexico. My mom is from here. My mom is a physical therapist. I always knew that I wanted to work in healthcare in some degree. Throughout high school, I was able to do some internships or like shadowing different people in the healthcare profession to see what I wanted to do. And I always laughed because I thought, I told myself, I was like, I will never be a nurse because I do the really messy things, and I'll never be a doctor because it takes too much school. And kind of the theme of my life has been everything I say I'm never going to do, the Lord has me do. And so I'm a nurse practitioner, which is kind of like a combination of both.
When I was a kid, grew up in a Christian home to believing parents. My dad, he's an electrical engineer, so I grew up around early days of computers. So I learned to touch, type, and read at the same time. We had internet at the house before most people knew what it was. When the web started being a thing, I was coding my friends' websites. As a 14, 15-year-old, got a degree in computer science at that point and knew I was going to be an engineer. Had a job to build websites. Or go into the aerospace, and I'll say it was far more interesting to go into the aerospace side of the house, and so that started my career in that side, in the engineering side.
Faith has always been important in my family from the beginning. Became a believer early on, but then kind of realized what it really meant to have time with the Lord every day. Like in high school, I was in a Bible study group of girls where I was like discipled by college and grown mentors. So that was super impactful. And then when I went to college, I think the Lord, especially my 3rd year of college, that's when I really realized God's sovereignty. And if I don't have him, I have nothing. So I think it's just kind of been a building of faith along the way. I've always felt like I've known the Lord and walked with him, but each step has, challenged along the way.
I've always known about Christ, always known the stories of Jesus. Was baptized in 3rd grade. 10th grade came along and There was a season of doubting. This is my family's faith. Is it my faith? Is this something that I want to be in part of my life on? There was a particular sermon that was I'll say a little bit scary. That's when my faith became not my family thing, not my cultural thing, but something that I personally took on for myself. Came out of that period, went to college, was involved in Bible studies and a variety of things from really early on, freshman year and on. I was leading a Bible study by the time I became a sophomore, and so all of a sudden studying the Word became part of my normal practice. And that having to teach it and show others. Somewhere along the way, we got involved in student ministry, and I had a bunch of 10th graders that I was actively discipling. In that place, it was like, man, I better believe this stuff, and I better live according to it, because I got a bunch of kids that are following me around. So that's when it became sort of, this is what I do, this is who I am. My junior year, I'll say the Lord was messing with me, just emotionally, just in it. What do I do? Am I going to the ministry? Am I going into engineering? Senior year, it was, okay, I've got this girlfriend and I think I should marry her.
We were set up by our parents. We actually met when I was 6 weeks old, and I went to his baby shower when he wasn't really out yet. Our moms did a lot of stuff together at the beginning, and our parents would go on double dates. And so we are the same age, but we were in different circles growing up. Our moms were both physical therapists.
Work friends, and then they occasionally would get the families together. Marisa always looked 6 years younger than I do, still does to this day. And I had no idea that she was my age.
When we were both home for college or for Christmas break in college, our junior years, we were forced to go to a family dinner.
My mom looked at me with that look of, you'll do what you're told next. And that was, hey, the Serenos are coming over with their 21-year-old eligible daughter, quote unquote.
Hey, we're going to this family dinner. You have to go too,
And I was like, all right, Mom, what's the deal? The soon-to-be wife, if you will, was sitting across the table. We were on the same team together.
We played Taboo to 100, which is a really long count for that game. And so I remember getting in the car thinking, like, he's really cute, but he was at A&M and I was at Sanford, and that's, many miles apart. It's like, this is never going to work. So it was spring break. I called home and was asking, hey, is Marisa home? Would love to take her out, assuming that she was going to be around. And her younger sister answered the phone and was like, no, she's at college. Ugh. So she hung up the phone, and then not very much long later, her mom called back, left a message on the old school answering machine with the tape, said, hey, just want to let you know, here's Marisa's cell phone, here's her email address, feel free to reach out to her, just wanted to make sure you could get a hold of her, all right, bye, click. We had a couple of phone calls. That Easter we went out on our first date. We were both back in town, got to see each other on a fairly regular basis. Parents really wanted us to get together. We did a lot of emailing and letters and a lot of phone calls. We were talking just about what we were going to do after graduation, because at the time we were juniors and seniors in college, and I really liked him a lot, and I thought this was the guy I was going to marry. But he at one point had thoughts that he wanted to be a missionary, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to do that. Was involved with a missionary sending organization that I helped out with, and I was in that circle, and I was like, man, is this what it is? During our whole dating time, seeing our relationship kind of like fine china, I am not in charge of this, and if I hold on to it too tightly, I'm gonna drop it and it's gonna shatter. And so whatever the Lord wants to do, let me be available. And then we got engaged that next spring. I was married 7 months later after we graduated. Throughout our lives, it's our married life especially, there's just been, times where you think you're going to do this, and the Lord's like, nope, we're going to do this, and changes our plans. Marisa swore as a young child that she would never have 4 kids. And there was the roller coaster of the news being a surprise. We weren't trying at that point in time. It was against significant statistical odds as an engineer. That matters. Man, another kid. What are we going to do? This wasn't the plan. We thought we were moving out of a certain life stage of having little tiny babies at home. We don't have a room in our current house. But also, man, if this is what the Lord has for us, then great. Getting ourselves ramped up for it, right? And being like, hey, this is what we're going to do. All right. And then showing up at the sonogram with no heartbeat and just coming right down on the backside of that. That baby that we miscarried was a big surprise. We weren't planning to have 4 children. But I think what it did was it left us with more questions of, what do we do next? Are we supposed to have 4 kids? What does this mean? Does the Lord want us to have a 4th child? We felt like we did not want to have any more children, but we were open to what the Lord wanted. I think in the wake of that was, what does this mean for our family?
We got pregnant with Ellie, and it was like, man, are we on that same roller coaster again? Like, is this where, are we going to go through it again? How excited did we get about this as we found out we were pregnant? And then eventually, as we rolled through the typical milestones, this is something we actually got to be ready for. Fast forward, and all of a sudden there's Ellie, who was also not intentional.
She was a big surprise.
She was a big bonus. So, and then we had 4 kids.
If you're talking about a newborn, like somebody who's just about to have a baby, just giving yourself a lot of grace, because, you know, once you have a baby, especially right after, your hormones are just out of whack. We have the perspective of, you know, life will get better and you will sleep again. But that first time mom, you don't know that. You think I will never sleep again, and it's just so exhausting. I remember before I had Lucy, like I had all this time to have a quiet time, and it was great, and I could spend 30, 45 minutes uninterrupted. And then after she came, I'm like, maybe I have 5 minutes, you know, of uninterrupted time. And that was just really challenging of trying to figure out, like, what is how do I get back to a decent spiritual life? Like, how do I have time in the Word again? How do I have time to pray that's undivided? And so that just takes time, and it looks different. It's not always going to be the way that it was, and that's okay, because life changes.
As a kid progresses from not being able to have a conversation at all to now having a teenager who talks back, you're going to change, and there's this like revisiting thing. We had all this ambition early on about spiritual development, having these conversations. But when they were a baby and we had all this ambition, there was no, like the baby didn't talk back, like they were not there. And then all of a sudden when they're 4, you can actually have some level of conversation. And by the time they're 12, you can have most of the conversations. Recognizing the fact that, your kid's in a different life stage, and then doubling back to some of that early ambition and going, okay, what's appropriate for now that we sort of gave up on because they were too young to have that conversation or just unable to have those conversations. And so we find ourselves now with like a 12-year-old going, oh, there's some things that we should have. There's some conversations that we should have that we thought about having, but now we're ready for. Having 4 kids, a conversation we had this weekend was, have we had all the conversations with Annie that we did with Lucy along the way? So like just going, I don't want to lose a middle kid in the process of this, of the blur of life, and going, oh no, Annie became 10. And did we have the things that made sense as a 10-year-old? Doubling back to some of the early ambition and going of things that the discipleship you want to have of your kids, and then cycling back and going, okay, our kid is now at this age, we need to have this conversation. How you're going to raise your kids, I think
I don't think we knew. We asked for wisdom, and then Lord help us.
The spiritual development of our kids is, I'll say, no less are we responsible for than whether or not they turn into civilized human beings on the backside of this.
We have had to learn many different tools to go in our parenting toolbox and then see which one works better for each kid. What we do for one kid is not going to work for the second kid.
The first time we took our kids to kindergarten, and we turning them over to the wolves.
It's our responsibility.
Be the parents.
There's been a lot of trial and error. You trust that the Lord has your kids.
Christianity is not a solo sport.
We are having conversations as they come up. Hey, what are ways that you can serve with the giftings that the Lord has given you? I did not work for a year staying at home full time. I do enjoy what I do, and I do want to go back.
We can't afford that as a family. We are way into all of our kids' activities, so 2 out of the 3 that are piano playing age, if you will, have taken to it. It's soccer and ballet and gymnastics, and most of our time in the evenings is running them to all their things and going to all of their plays and their games and all the stuff.
My dad is off too. Oh,
He's smart.
He's big and smart. The brain of the family. He's chunky. He's chunky.
He is one of the smartest guys I know. Awesome at leading. He's awesome at teaching. Is a really good speaker.
She's the nurse that you want at your bedside. Caring, sweet, super intelligent, really capable and competent. She's great with her kids. She's got a really special relationship with her daughters. They just share a lot with her just because of how open she is and how great of a mother she is.
She makes good food.
She's nice.
She's awesome.
We just work really well together. We have a similar personality in the sense of like we're kind of together as a team. Like we're gonna figure this out together. it's our responsibility. Like that is
Yeah.
both of us.
Yeah, it's our responsibility to be the parents. Teachers and coaches, those are all delegates that we delegate some certain amount of responsibility to them to teach them a skill or math, reading, or whatever it is and that. But at the end of the day, raising our kids is our job.
Well, it's not the churches either. I mean, they are a supplement and a help, but that is
Right.
also our job to disciple our kids.
The first time we took our kids to kindergarten, I mean, it was just like, man, are we turning them over to the wolves? Right? It was like the public school. Are we just like dropping them off? And like, who are these people? Again, by God's grace, that for the most part, they've been believers. And
But you're not guaranteed that. I mean,
You're
that's
not
the thing. It's like,
guaranteed, right.
you trust like that the Lord has
Yeah.
your kids, and we do the best that we can.
And then we stay involved. Man, it's our job to make sure all the things are being taught and all the things are being learned.
There's been a lot of trial and error as far as like, what does discipline look like for this kid? It doesn't look the same for this kid. One kid I could look very sternly at and say no, and they're done, and the other kid doesn't face them, and they will still continue painting the wall.
It even changed over time, right? The things that worked with Lucy when she was 4 and 5, one, they didn't work with their siblings when they were 4 or 5, and two, is that when she became 8, those were no longer the effective things, right? With Michael, a stern look. I mean, I didn't face any of the other girls. You couldn't give them a stern look and
Sweet
have
boy.
them. But the sweet little boy, you look at him sideways. I mean, it's tears, it's contrition. What was ever the same? I think it's probably it.
There's not much.
We try and hold this like 5:15 to like 7:30, 8 o'clock as sacrosanct as possible, just to be around the dinner table, eating dinner together as a family. Everybody's got stuff to do, right? Whether or not it's set the table, clear the table, help mom with dinner, get the drinks out on the table, just that process of all having to work
Like you're
together
part
as
of a family. This
Yeah.
is a big family.
We're all
Everybody has to play a part to make this
Right.
work. It's not just me and dad.
That gets interrupted by soccer practices and everything else in the mix. But for the most part, the goal is, hey, the family is together during those time frames. And so when she's got work that bleeds over, that's for that kind of 8:30 on time frame where she'll get back
Do
on the
charting
computer.
later, yeah.
Yeah, she'll do charting later on her computer. I'll hack on email in the evenings after the fact, trying to hold that prime time for family stuff just to keep it all balanced. There's statistics that talk about the value to kids academically, how they grow up, their socioeconomics, about they're at that table, watching everyone interact. The amount of, I'll say, constructive parenting that just happens around a kitchen table, right? Not speaking over each other, not grabbing, asking for things in a way that's normal, civilized, polite way to interact with one another. And then the questions at dinner.
We have this kind of like a box of questions, and each day we do 1 or 2 of them, and the whole family has to answer it.
They're like conversation starters. So like, if you were deserted on an island and you could take 5 things with you, what would that be?
Or like, if your parents could have superpowers, what would they be?
And it's interesting to hear their perspectives or to share, truth with those questions or whatever it is. Some of those questions will then be spiritual questions, or maybe not even spiritual questions, but then having to unpack those. We've had several really good conversations recently.
It's just sweet. It's a good time. I want that to be a memory of my kids. It's this landmark thing that's just like, man, my family was regularly at the dinner table, sharing food, breaking bread, being able to ask questions, talking together as a family, interacting, having some fun in the process.
I work 2 days a week at a pediatrician's office. I'm a nurse practitioner.
From a financial standpoint, the Lord has provided as far as employment is concerned on my behalf. And so there's not a strong need. It helps, right? She makes good money. So it helps with, college savings and all that kind of stuff along the way. But even recently, there's been a change in my role and position. And we asked ourselves, hey, does it continue to make sense to work this much?
When we first had Lucy, I was working in a different place, and I think just the perspective of what my limitations were going to be now that I was a mom. Like before, I had a lot more time to do extra things for my job. Like I could do more volunteer work, I could do different committees or whatever. We view my job kind of with open hands in this season, and right now it makes sense, but that doesn't mean that's what's always going to happen. We did move internationally 10 years ago, and I did not work for a year. And so there was a perspective of staying at home full time, which was great. I do enjoy what I do, and I do want to go back. But that is something that we process regularly, with either changing his job or changing kids' schedules or whatever it is, just like, hey, does this make sense still? Also just realizing the priority of family and where that stacks up. After having kids, like, hey, that is not the priority anymore. Like, I need to do a good job and I'm gonna take care of my patients and do excellent, but I don't have the extra bandwidth that I had before. Do the best that I can at my job, but then I come home and I'm mom, and that's my role.
You back up a couple of years and she was working, 2.5 days a week, and it was like, hey, what would it look like to get rid of that half day? And all of a sudden provide some extra margin for the family. And so those kind of moves are something that we've considered multiple times. Season by season, we look at it. So like school decisions are always kind of 1 year at a time. What school activities you're going to go to as we enter the fall. It's like, all right, how many sports are we doing? Who's doing which sports? One of the life hacks is you be the coach of the team, and then you get to pick the night of the week and the place where they practice. So you stack them all up together at one place. We're going to be a soccer family on Tuesday and Thursday and no other night of the week. We're looking at a new team for Annie, and the night of the week matters, because if it doesn't fit in the family schedule, man, we may have to pick a different team or not play soccer that one season.
As our kids are getting older and there's more activities and more opportunity for activities, it is something where we've had to kind of learn, like, they may not make it to every single practice. Like, we may have to say no, and that's okay. And as somebody who's a people pleaser, that is hard sometimes to say, oh no, she needs to go to everything, she should always be there. But to give myself and give our family the option to say no, we've had to do that a couple times.
I think it came by not intentionality, but just practical need, where we just sit down with the calendar and it is, all right, where are all the people? Where do they need to be? What are all the events? What's on my work calendar? Do I have evening events that I got to handle with work? Are there particular things going on inside of either of our work contexts that are going to cause the day to stretch, where we're going to need to call in help, either a grandparent or a friend, or get a carpool to a soccer practice, or whatever it is in that regard? And so Marisa's A gift is just organization. All of a sudden we go into just full organizing mode where it's just strategy, and there's all of a sudden it's all written down on a calendar, who's doing what, who's got which one, who's picking up from who. And that's just to manage the complexity of 4 kids who are busy with all their activities and all of their things in an attempt to make it all work.
If we think about like managing our house, it's also, we need people to help, because there's only 2 of us.
Yeah.
So it looks like grandparents helping out, that looks like babysitters, that looks like neighbors. The nature of your job, you do have travel, and so whenever we commit to something like a kid's activity, I also have to think, can I do this if he's out of town? Like, can I run the show by myself, or can I run this particular sport? Being realistic and like, this is too much for our family, or this will be fine.
For Annie, last time it was like, hey, do we do gymnastics one night a week, or do we go into the competitive gymnastics and do it 3-4 times a week? And it was like, man, we can't afford that as a family.
For me, and somebody who is task-oriented and has my own schedule of what I want to do, it's allowing myself to be interrupted and interruptible to address things as we see them come up with our kids, and to have conversations with them and not blow it off. We are having conversations as they come up, and to treat our kids as like smart people. Like, hey, we can have these conversations with you. You are old enough to have a conversation about divorce or homosexuality or whatever's happening around in your friend group. Like, let's talk about it. What does the Bible say? What do we know is truth? Sometimes we think as parents, you have these set times that you're going to have these conversations, and you need to be mentally prepared for each different conversation and be ready to go. And I have found it's like these conversations happen in the car as we're driving to Target in 5 minutes.
Christianity is not a solo sport, right? And we want to have them see us engaging in the one another's of Scripture with the people that are around us, that are in our church small groups, or in the newly married folks that come into our house, us having ministry and that occurring in this living room. And they see that when I'm hanging out with the guys in formal small group time, and it's like, oh, Dad's leaving for the night, and we tell them what we're doing, right? Marisa has a dedicated 6 a.m. in the morning slot, sitting on the couch in the Word, in a devotional book, in a parenting book, whatever it is that is there. And it's sort of this quiet time in the house before the whole house literally erupts to get everyone off to school. The kids all know what it is, know what it's for, know what she's doing. And that's just a part of the pace of the family, is that there's that quiet moment in the morning where that's mom's time. And, when Ellie wakes up, hey, Ellie, we need to go back to our room. Why? Because mom needs that minute in order to level set the day. Most Sundays, we try and get the whole crew out to church, just being able to provide an opportunity to jump into that conversation with them. Hey, what did you learn this morning, right?
We encourage our older girls, as they're old enough to be in a Bible study with church, like in their small group.
Being able to serve is something that's super important to me, like just the opportunity to serve a family in a given regard, whatever that is. There's an attempt to communicate that to our kids. When you get the opportunity and the ask of somebody that they need something, man, let's drop what we're doing, let's go and do their thing. We had a conversation even this weekend that we were like, hey, we wanted to create a way to like show them the different spiritual gifts, like go stick them in front of somebody, or go allow them to spend the afternoon of someone exercising one of their spiritual gifts so that they can just see it.
Hey, Lucy, you are really good at following directions and being responsible and using that in a good way, in a way that is pleasing to the Lord. And I think as they are starting to get older and like helping them, hey, what are ways that you can serve with the giftings that the Lord has given you? Link arms with somebody that is either same stage as you or a little bit ahead. Both is better if you can have somebody ahead of you and next to you. That has been so helpful in my life, to have mom friends around me to say like, hey, what would you do in this situation? Or what do you do about this? Not just the tactical things and practical things, but just believing friends who are trying to also shepherd their children and discipline and disciple them in a way that is pleasing to the Lord.
Recently, a friend of mine gave me the advice, and it's been super helpful as my kids are now transitioning into this like preteen, in particular girls, as he says, you will spend less time shoulder to shoulder and you'll need to spend more time face to face. Because I was a really good play dad, like shoulder to shoulder, let's go, let's do it. And all of a sudden that was not what my older daughters needed. I'm picking you up at the end of it and you're coming out, we're gonna go grab some food. And so instead of just picking up drive-through, we'll actually stop at the restaurant and we'll sit and we'll have that extra 30 minutes and eat our food together face to face. And then we'll get in the car and go home.
With our kids, I think it is just seeing how they're each uniquely gifted and how the Lord has wired them, and helping them realize that the Lord has gifted them differently from each other, and that's great and good. And how can we steward that in a way that's wise?
The Lord's going to guide the path, right? Like he's going to direct the steps. And so it's really more of this like, man, what is the next step that I should take? And man, the Lord's just in it, right? We can try and strategize about our life, but it's just like, man, the day-to-day of it is that. And so, yeah.
Today we're winning.
Yes, yes, with her.
Today we're winning.
Today we're winning.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Oh, a little mermaid.
A little.
No.
Well, like, what's your favorite Bible story?
Noah's Ark. When God died on the cross, what I said.
God is love, and love comes from God. In 1 John, the Bible tells us that God is not only all-loving, but that He actually is love itself. The heart of the Parent Compass television show is to bring the transforming love of God to families everywhere. In every Parent Compass episode, true stories reveal family struggles and how their lives were radically changed by the love of God. Parent Compass, an award-winning television series, is completely funded by people like you. If you have been touched by God and you want to share God's love to others, would you please pass it on? Jesus tells us to go into all the world and to tell about Him. With your donation, you allow us to take this television show into many different nations and in many different languages, free of charge. And a portion of your donation goes to Parent Compass Outreach to feed starving children. Your gift does so much. To make your tax-deductible gift, go to parentcompass.tv/donate. That's parentcompass.tv/donate. And thank you for sending love and hope around the world.